Hello again, my little conscripts, and welcome to another Mordian Glory video. In today's episode, we shall be casting our ever-critical eye over another 10th edition Imperial Guard Codex datasheet. This time, we will be looking at the religious arm of His Imperial Guard, the Emperor's true finest, with a little look at the Ministorum priests. I'm going to be upfront with you guys. This unit's not very good. And if you're curious about taking one of these, you probably shouldn't. But it's important to understand why the Ministorum Priest is not a very popular unit in the Guard, and what a very simple solution could be to take them from trash to treasure. And so without further ado, let's fix bayonets and charge right into this thing. As is tradition, let us begin with a cheeky gander at the priest's stat line. The priest has got a movement value of 6 inches. This is completely standard in terms of guard infantry based units. It's not too fast, it's not too slow, it just kind of gets the job done. It's important to note that whilst the priest himself does not have the regiment keyword and therefore can't receive orders directly from officers, if he joins a squad of guardsmen or another unit that can receive orders, then he can benefit from things like move. So that 6-inch move can be a lot higher than that when you take into account orders and things like advance. But long story short, it's a standard 6-inch move. Defensively, the Ministorum Priest is a little bit all over the place. Toughness 3 with 3 wounds is what you would expect for what I would call hero level character, just a sort of slightly low level character, like a full-blown lord or epic hero kind of thing. And the 4+ invulnerable save is a good thing. The 6-up regular save is basically meaningless. We're not in 9th edition anymore where you could ignore invulnerable saves, which was a crazy heady time to be in. So you're going to be relying on this 4+, and that's decent. However, don't be deceived into thinking that this guy will be tanking very much, because his toughness 3 and his 3 wounds means that realistically, whilst he might be able to take a las cannon shot to the ball sack, it's going to be the mountains of bolt of fire and its equivalent that's going to shred him. Leadership 7 and objective control of 1 is exactly what we would expect from a low-level character like this. So overall, the only thing that's really remarkable about the priest stat line is that 4+ invulnerable save, which is a nice to have, and it might stop him from the occasional plasma bolt or las cannon, but any sort of volume of firepower is going to see him dead along with his congregation. So if his stat line isn't much to write home about, what about his equipment? Well, each Ministorum Priest comes equipped with Zealot's Vindicator, and you can swap out Zealot's Vindicator for a Holy Pistol and a Power Weapon. The reason why we've got these rather strange loadouts is because it's to accommodate the 2 kinds of priest model that GW tends to sell. You've got this guy here with the tube up his nose, he's got a tube up his nose, peep show reference for anyone out there. And he's obviously got the pistol and the power maul. But you've also got the more radical looking person who's got the big pseudo eviscerator with the flame attached to it from Blackstone Fortress. That was a game that I don't think GW makes anymore, but they used a lot of the models for it to make up characters in other factions. And so that's why you've got these rather strange loadouts over something like a bolt pistol and a chainsword, or a plasma pistol and a power sword. So what exactly is a Zealot's Vindicator? Well, it's a 2-in-1 shooting and melee weapon. So in shooting, it's basically a big flamer. It's got a 12-inch range, it ignores cover, it auto hits thanks to torrent, it fires D6 shots like a flamer, but it's strength 5 over the usual strength 4. So it's halfway between a flamer and a heavy flamer. I don't know why Games Workshop wouldn't just simplify things and make it a heavy flamer or a regular flamer. But here we are. Everything has to have its own special sauce in 10th edition. So it's strength 5, AP 0, damage 1. So it's a little bit stronger than a regular flamer. Like I said, halfway between that and a heavy flamer. In melee, it's actually not too bad with 3 attacks, hitting on a 4+, at strength 5, AP minus 1, damage 2. I mean, if you have this thing in a squad, and then maybe you're running something like Kriegers who've also got 2 power weapons, and you've got like a Krieg command squad who's got like another power weapon and a power fist in there, we're starting to get up to a reasonable number of power weapons in a unit. As for the Holy Pistol and power weapon, the Holy Pistol has a 12-inch range with 3 attacks hitting at 4+, strength 4, AP 0, damage 1. And the power weapon is 3 attacks. They hit on 3s, to be fair, slightly better than the Zealot Vindicators hitting on 4s. But strength 4, AP minus 2, damage 1. Overall, in my mind, I feel the Zealot's Vindicator is just better in every way, because the range damage is clearly superior. And the melee damage, I guess it's kind of debatable, because you've got one that's hitting on 3s, AP2, but it's only 1 damage. Then you've got one that's hitting on 4s, but it's got better strength, but worse AP, 2 damage. My instinct, and anyone who's more math hammer orientated than me, I'd love to see what stats she came up with. But my instinct to say is that Zealot's Vindicator seems the better way to go, especially considering that there's a lot of like 2 wound infantry out there. GW started adding extra wounds onto things a few editions ago, and no, it's actually rare that I come across a basic infantry bloke that's only got 1 wound. And so the idea, and hasn't got like some sort of 4+ invulnerable save or something mad, you know what I mean? So the idea for me is that I'd rather have the extra strength because I'm more likely to wound. The AP is semi-relevant, but I'll probably bump into an invulnerable save, and the 2 damage is more important to me because either I want to be overwhelming 1 wound guys who have got like a 5 feel no pain, so 2 damage can hopefully counter that, or I'm coming across like a space marine equivalent and 2 damage can 1 shot pop an intercessor and similar things. We've talked a lot about the melee capabilities of the Ministorum Priest, and that's because we're kind of foreshadowing what his abilities are focused on. But before we get there, let's talk about the ranged, because I think that the Zealot's Vindicator being an extra flamer does open up an interesting option, an interesting angle. Mass Flamer Catachan Screening Blob. 20 Catachans can take 4 flamers. A Catachan command squad that joins that unit can bring a heavy flamer and a flamer, along with some other special weapons as well. And then you add the Ministorum Priest on. That is a total of 7 torrent weapons coming from this one unit. Now, it is expensive. It's going to come in at 220 points. But that is 30 points cheaper than 2 Hellhounds. And it can screen out a larger area as well. I'm not saying it's a meta winning option. I'm not saying it's going to suddenly change and define the whole competitive scene. But if you're someone that kind of wish that priests were a lot better, and you kind of want to look for a reason to put one in your army, I think going down a full flamer route with one of them is definitely an option. Not a good option, but I think a lot better than trying to use them for their traditional melee boosting capabilities. Speaking of which, let's get to the abilities. First up, we have got the number 1 reason you would include a priest in your army, or at least hypothetically the number 1, War Hymns. While this model is leading a unit, melee weapons sustained by models in that unit have the sustained hits 1 ability. On paper, that's not a bad ability at all. Being able to add sustained hits 1 onto some Premier Guard combat units? My god. Ulgrins and Ogrins could really benefit from this guy, right? Yeah, they could, if he could join them. The problem is, and this is why people don't take them, is that preachers can only really join units that have no real business in close combat. Caden Shock Troops, Catachan Jungle Fighters, Death Corps of Krieg, Kazakin, Krieg Combat Engineers, and Tepessa Scions. All of those units are toughness 3, strength 3, very little AP units. I mean, Caden Shock Troops can't get any power weapons. Catachans don't have any power weapons. They get +1 to wound, but with a bunch of AP 0 weapons. It's whatever. Deathcore Krieg, a couple of power swords there maybe. Kazakin, a power sword. Krieg Combat Engineers, a power sword. Tempest of Scions, a power sword or a power fist. There's just... And all these units like hitting on like 4s. Unless you use fixed bayonets. The Ministorum Priest very clearly wants to join bigger, punchier units. It's clearly what he's designed to do. But for some reason, Games Workshop has decided that that's too powerful. That would be too broken. And so, for the whole of 10th edition, the Priest, and I think previous editions as well, the Priest has not been able, I think 9th and 10th edition, the Priest has not been able to join Ogryns and Bulgryns. Whereas back in 8th edition, he actually did synergize with them because he gave a bubble of extra attacks out, and that did affect things like Ogryn and Bulgryn. That was really good. And this is why people don't bother taking him. Because you're trying to melee boost units that, in my experience, the moment they go near melee, they just get shredded. I recently did a game where I took a full blob of Kriegers and I charged them into a damaged unit of Gene Stealers. I charged them. I struck first. And I did a wound or two. And let me tell you, sustained hits wouldn't have changed that. And in return, this mauled unit of Gene Stealers turned around and shredded my entire unit. Completely dominated that fight. And that's a classic. And that's Kriegers, which got power weapons. Arguably the best unit on this list to give a priest to. One that can actually take some sort of close combat weapon. And I got into a melee fight and got absolutely shredded. Now, if I had a priest in there, it would have made zero difference. I still would have been completely shredded because I'm a T3 guardsman with a 5-up save. It's just not enough. So I know I'm really heavily labouring the point here. War Hymns is a great ability, but the units that it can go on to are just trash. Trash in melee, at least. The second ability is Holy Piety. Each time this model makes a melee attack, unless this model unit is battle shocked, you can re-roll the hit roll. Now you read that the first time, you're like, sweet! 4 re-rolls to hit. It's this model. Not this model's unit. So the only model that gets to do any re-rolls is the Ministorum Priest, not the squad he's leading. So in summary, the Ministorum Priest is a very cool unit, and it comes with some kooky yet unique and interesting weapons. The big issue is that the abilities just can't affect the right units. So what is the solution here? Because I said at the beginning of this video, we were going to talk about the priest, the problems, and how we'd fix them. Well, I propose that you could do one of any of the following. You wouldn't need to do all of them. Firstly, just allow the priests, as is, without changing anything else in the datasheet, to join Ogryns and Bulgryns. Bulgryns right now are one of the best guard melee units, but they're very expensive, and they can't receive orders or anything like that. I think if you added the Ministorum Priest to one of those units, even though you start getting up to like 255 points at time of recording for a full Bulgryn squad and a priest, I think being able to have the sustained hits 1 on those Bulgryn mauls would be worth it. I think that would be definitely worth it. And I think it would give the priest a natural home. He's a combat boosting unit that can then join a proper combat unit. Now, if Games Workshop is just against allowing the priest to join the abhumans, then fair enough. What I would then propose is that Holy Piety is changed so that it affects the whole unit. You can keep the bit about Battle Shock in there. You know, the priest is trying to give a sermon, but his voice is cracking, he's a bit shaky, and the people aren't really believing in him. So they don't get the rerolls. But I would say let that apply to the whole unit. Because suddenly, being able to get all of these guardsmen and them having sustained hits 1 and they've got full rerolls. Yeah, they're only strength 3 guardsmen a lot of the time. They're AP 0. But with all those rerolls to hit, with all of those sustained hits potentially being generated, A, you might just be able to actually kill something, anything in melee, and B, even if it doesn't actually boost the damage output of the guard unit significantly, especially against other combat units, it makes it feel better. It kind of passes the vibe check, because you're rolling dice, you're getting results. The priest feels like it's building up to something. Even if the end result is, oh, instead of doing one wound to a spatial intercessor, you killed a whole intercessor. Do you know what I mean? It just makes it feel like the priest is doing more and is actually giving those guardsman units hope in combat. Option number 3 is a radical one. One which, if I know 40k players, especially competitive ones, they definitely wouldn't want. But it would be flavorful, and it would be based on older editions, the ancient scrolls. You see, in previous editions, priests used to make your guys fearless. They could not be intimidated. Their faith in the emperor overcame all. And in previous editions, Ministorum priests also boosted your combat by giving you extra attacks. So what I would do is have the Ministorum priest as they are now, in terms of the units that they can join. They can't join Ogres and Borgers and anything like that. But instead of sustained hits 1, you give full-blown +1 attack. So whilst the priest is leading a unit, they get +1 attack. You also have the priest give full rerolls in combat. They get both of those to the whole unit. I know, hear me out. You also have the Ministorum priests make your unit immune to battle shock. Any battle shock test they have to make, they automatically pass. And you have it where the priest is leadership 6. So if there's any other leadership based test, they're more likely to pass it. The flip side is any unit joined by a priest can't fall back. They can't fall back. The priest can never fall back. The unit he's joined can never fall back. They are overtaken with zealous fervor, and they will fight to the last man, martyring themselves in the name of the emperor. Now, I'm telling you right now, that last bit, that huge debuff, that huge downside, just put off 90%, if not 100% of all competitive players, because they're like, oh, that takes agency away from the player. That's too big a risk. That's not worth it. Yeah, 100%. I get that. I agree. I probably wouldn't take it in a competitive list either. But you know what? I'd absolutely take that in a narrative list. I'd absolutely take that in a fun list. 110% every single time. Father Gregory leading his flock to certain annihilation and doom. But they do it with a prayer on their lips and faith in their hearts. It's something that we need to bring back to 40k. Units which have immense amounts of flavor, which appeal to the more random, fun-loving, crazy crowd, and not the hyper sort of analytical or just regular analytical sort of competitive crowd. It's a unit that you can include in your crusade. It's a unit that builds up a reputation. Sometimes it has heady heights, often it has terrible lows, but always does something fun in a game. Of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. How do you think the Ministorum Priest should be changed? What can GW do to make this unit work? Is it a simple change to the units it can lead? Or do we go full-blown craziness with it and try and have some fun? If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to go ahead and smash that like button. And also subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and Patreons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full-time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bon Vert, Lord Pryor, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.